Praise when I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulder. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulder. To more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. Shoulder, you raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. And I am strong when I am on your shoulder. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Everyone, please rise. All uniformed personnel, present oath. Order. Arm. Okay, again. Uniform personnel. Team. Pipe measure. By your command. Honor guard. Forward. March. Honor guard. Ready? Face. All uniformed personnel, present arms. Color guard. Present arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Order. Out. Honor guard. Ready? Face. Pipe meter. By your command.
Action drum. All belt. Face. America. Right. Quick. Face.
Please be seated. I am the resurrection and the life, saith the Lord. They that believeth in me, though they were dead, yet shall they live. And whoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. I know that my Redeemer liveth, and he shall stand at the latter day upon the earth. And though the body be destroyed, yet shall we see God, whom we shall see for ourselves, and our eyes shall behold, and not as strangers. We brought nothing into this world. It is certain we can carry nothing out. The Lord has given, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. O God of grace and glory, we remember before you this day our brothers and sister, for Paul, Kelsey, and Kenneth. We thank you for giving them to us, their family and friends, to know and to love as companions on our earthly pilgrimage. And in our boundless compassion, console us who mourn. Give us faith to see in death the gate of eternal life, so that in a quiet confidence we may continue our course on earth in service, until by your call we are reunited with those who have gone before. All this we ask in your holy name. Let us say, Amen.
Thank you for joining us as we pay tribute to our fallen heroes. I'm Stuart Nathan, past President and Commissioner, Baltimore City Fire Department, Board of Fire Commissioners, and I will be presenting our speakers this morning. In the pre-dawn hours of Monday, January 24th, 2022, Baltimore City firefighters were dispatched to the 200 block of South Stricker Street for a reported row house fire. As the firefighters responded, the dispatcher relayed that there was a report of people trapped. Moments later, Engine 14, led by Lieutenant Kelsey Saddler, arrived and reported fire showing from the second and third floors. Her crew consisted of firefighter paramedic Kenneth Lacayo, firefighter John McMaster for the interior firefighting. Engine 14's crew entered the row house and began attacking the fire. Truck 23, led by Lieutenant Paul Butrim, arrived and began searching for those reported trapped. Less than 5 minutes after arriving on the scene, without warning, a collapse occurred, trapping the crews operating inside. Sadly, Lieutenant Sadler, Lieutenant Butrim, and firefighter paramedic Lacayo were tragically killed. Rescued by his fellow firefighters, firefighter McMaster was transported to shock trauma and has since been released to recover from his injuries. These heroes gave their lives in service to the citizens of the city of Baltimore and will never be forgotten. We are here today to honor their sacrifice. It is my honor to call forward at this time the Governor of the State of Maryland, Governor Larry Hogan.
Good morning. It is an honor to be here on behalf of all of the people of Maryland as we pay tribute to the life and the legacy of three of our true heroes, Lieutenant Paul Butrim, Lieutenant Kelsey Saddler, and Firefighter Kenneth Lacayo. I want to begin by extending my deepest sympathies to their families, to their brothers and sisters in the Baltimore City Fire Department, and to all who love them. Isaiah chapter 6 says, "And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? Then I said, Here am I. Send me." Just after 6 a.m. last Monday, in the dark and the searing cold, when the call came in, Paul, Kelsey, Kenny, and everyone on shift that day did what they had always done, what they were trained to do, and what they love to do. They said, "Send me." When we learned that we'd lost them, it shook us to the core. The loss of a firefighter or first responder in the line of duty is always heartbreaking. To lose 3 is an unimaginable tragedy. And I know that there are no words that I can give you that will provide lasting comfort. But what I can give to all of you gathered here is assurance that Paul, Kelsey, and Kenny, their lives and their memories and their ultimate sacrifice will not ever be forgotten. They won't just be remembered for how they died, but for how they lived. Lieutenant Paul Butrim served the Baltimore City Fire Department for 16 years. He was first hired as a firefighter and paramedic apprentice, and not only did he quickly work his way up the ranks, but he earned the respect and the admiration of everyone that he worked with. In 2005, Paul received an award for bravery and valor after entering a burning apartment, rescuing a young child who was trapped, and performing CPR until EMS personnel arrived. Lieutenant Kelsey Saddler, a 15-year veteran of the Baltimore City Fire Department. She was tough. You had to be in her line of work. But she was also incredibly kind. And friends say that her work ethic was matched only by her relentless drive to help others. Firefighter Kenny Lacayo came to Baltimore City from the Wheaton Volunteer Rescue Squad, where he was named Paramedic of the Year in 2016 and received a unit citation in 2018 for rendering aid to a person who had been struck by a car. And those who knew him best say Kenny had an easy smile and a magnetic personality. Kenny, Kelsey, and Paul loved being firefighters. They always put the job first without regard for their own personal safety. They all chose to serve something greater than themselves. And they all felt a deep-rooted obligation to make their community a better and safer place, even when it meant putting their lives on the line for the rest of us. On that tragic and fateful day, they said, "Send me." Today, as the bell tolls their last alarm, and as we send them to their eternal rest, it is with the knowledge that their memories will live on through their loving families, through all those whose lives they touched, and through their brothers and sisters in the Baltimore City Fire Department, who will continue to serve with the same unwavering level of service that they always have. The work of our brave and dedicated first responders never stops. As we gather here this morning, there are heroes out there responding to a call for help, a medical emergency, an accident, or a fire. It is on our worst days that we ask for their very best. Far too often, our first responders don't get the appreciation they deserve. It shouldn't take a tragedy like this to remind us of the tremendous debt that we owe to all our firefighters, police, and first responders. In memory of Kenny, Kelsey, and Paul, I ask all the people of Maryland to find a way to say thank you to those who run toward the danger as others run from it. May God bless Lieutenant Paul Butrim, Lieutenant Kelsey Saddler, and Firefighter Kenny Lacayo. May they rest in peace. God bless their families and all those who loved them. And may God bless and watch over all of our firefighters and all those who stand on the front lines to protect the rest of us.
Thank you, Governor Hogan. Next, I'd like to call forward the Mayor of the City of Baltimore, the Honorable Brandon Scott.
Good morning. On behalf of the City of Baltimore, I am honored to be here to honor these three heroes, Lieutenant Paul Butrim, Lieutenant Kelsey Saddler, and Firefighter Paramedic Kenneth Lacayo. First, to the families of these fallen heroes, you have my deepest sympathies and those of the entire City of Baltimore. And if you haven't noticed today, it's really of the entire world. And I pray that in this toughest of times, for each and every one of you, that the outpouring of love and gratitude that Baltimore has shown for our heroes, your family members, has brought you some sense of solace and peace. Know that that will not end today, and that Baltimore will forever remember and honor the lives of your family members. To the heroes of the Baltimore City Fire Department, my heart is with you as you mourn the loss of your brothers and your sisters. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you do day in, day out to preserve and save lives in Baltimore. You have continued to carry out that mission through this tough time. And I ask that you all, and that we all, be reminded of the words of Joshua 1, verse 19. Be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened, and do not be dismayed. For the Lord, your God, is with you wherever you go. We will make it through this together. And yes, we will be honest. Today is one of the toughest days that we all are going to go through, especially these families. And it's very, very hard to understand how such an unspeakable, unthinkable tragedy can happen. Baltimore as a city is grieving the loss of the lives of three of the bravest among us, those who every day decide to get up and not just face the danger, but run headfirst into danger to save strangers. It takes a special kind of person, no, really it's an extraordinary kind of person to do that, not just once in your lifetime, but each and every day. It takes a special kind of person to show that kind of love for fellow humankind. That's the calling that Lieutenant Butrim, Lieutenant Sadler, and Firefighter Paramedic Lacayo answered every day they put on that BCFD uniform. Each of them have made the ultimate sacrifice for us, and we all owe them our deepest sense of gratitude, honor, and respect. Not just today, not just tomorrow, but forever. Baltimore will do that. Forever, we will honor them. We will never forget them, and we will work each and every day to make sure that their legacy lives on in our Baltimore City Fire Department. And John 13 tells us, greater has no love than this, that someone laid down his life for his friends. Lieutenant Butrim, Lieutenant Sadler, Firefighter Lacayo, Baltimore will never forget you, and we will work every day to honor your legacy. Thank you for your lives dedicated to service of others, and may you all rest in peace. God bless you. God bless your family. God bless our Baltimore City Fire Department and all of our first responders. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Scott. I would now like to call forward the Chief of the Baltimore City Fire Department, Chief Niles Ford.
I'd like to pretext my statements by addressing all the individuals who came in this city this morning to make it possible for us to grieve as a family in Baltimore City Fire Department. We had fire departments all throughout the state to send members. When this initially happened, my goal with our assistant chiefs was to try to make sure that everyone who was working that day had an opportunity to come here and grieve in unity and celebrate the lives of these three heroes in unity. And I just want to thank all those individuals who came, all the firefighters, all the fire chiefs, all the elected officials who made it possible. To the family and friends of Lieutenant Paul Butrim, to the family and friends of Lieutenant Kelsey Saddler, to the family and friends of firefighter paramedic Kenneth Lacayo, to John McMaster, who is here and is still recovering from his injuries, BCFD Engine 14, Medic 21, Truck 23, Engine 55, Medic 22, and all of the Baltimore City Fire Department family, Wheaton Volunteer Rescue Squad, where Kenny got his start, all of the friends, families, EMS, fire service community, and people of goodwill and compassion who have gathered here today, those who have prayed and sent love to support these heroes and Shiro. I would like to extend my most sincere condolences for your loss, for our loss of Paul, Kelsey, and Kenny. Admittedly, this has been a very, very difficult several days. To lose one member of the BCFD family is a terrible tragedy, but to lose three is almost unbearable. It also does not fall short on my mind that all of these individuals are relatively young. I believe it's human nature to equate the longevity of life with success and fulfillment. In a very, very, very famous speech where the speaker said, in essence, when I go from time to eternity, don't talk about all of my accolades, my degrees, my certifications, and my awards. This speaker went on to say, I'd like people to mention that I tried to live a life of service, that he tried to love people, and that he tried to love and serve humanity. He said that at that time, he wouldn't have money and fine luxuries to leave behind. He said he could only leave behind a committed life. As this good man closed his speech, he said, "If I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living will not be in vain." I believe that if Paul, Kelsey, and Kenny could speak to us, they would say that they have lived a committed life of service. I believe they'd say they loved people and they served humanity. And I think they could emphatically say that their lives were not in vain. By the way, this good man was Martin Luther King Jr. As I prepare to take my seat, I would like to read a couple verses from the Bible. The 126th chapter of the book of Psalms, verses 5 and 6 says, "Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. Those who go out weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with them." You may ask, "Chief, what in the world does that have to do with what's going on right now?" I'm glad you asked. Rachel, Nolan, Gloria, Jose, Brandon, Malia, Lacey, Norman, and all the family and friends. I know that you are struggling right now. Engine 14, Medic 21, Truck 23, Engine 55, Medic 22, all of the BCFD family and the Wheaton Volunteer Rescue Squad and everyone affected by this tragedy. I know that it's painful right now. However, those Bible verses tell me and tell you is that there will come a time that you will not cry and you will not weep because of these amazing individuals are no longer with us. Instead, you will smile, you will laugh, and you will celebrate because God allowed them to live their lives among us. And you, me, and we were blessed beyond measure to be exposed to their goodness, their kindness, their compassion, and their love for serving others. God bless you all. God bless Baltimore City Fire Department. God bless the fire service. Thank you for allowing me to speak, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Chief Ford. Next, we will be addressed by Richard Langford, President of the Baltimore City Firefighters Union, IAFF, Local 734.
To the families of Paul, Kelsey, and Kenny, on behalf of the Baltimore City Firefighters, we offer our most sincere condolences for your loss. I also want to take this opportunity to recognize Firefighter John McMaster, who sustained serious injuries on that incident, and he's here today to join us, thankfully. I never imagined I would be standing up before you delivering these remarks. I am devastated, heartbroken, and emotionally numb. I know many of you feel the same way. This tragedy compounds what most of us have been feeling for a long time: frustration, discouragement, and exhaustion. Today, I want to tell you all the reasons that you matter, not only to me, but to every other in our broader Baltimore community. I was born and raised in Baltimore City. Growing up in the city, the fire department was perceived as a place of camaraderie and security. Being a firefighter, paramedic, or an EMT was clearly not something you dove into for the money. You needed to have a deep passion for the job itself. Like most neighborhoods back then, you had a local firehouse. As a kid, or even as a young adult, you would get to know people at the station. The firehouse was an essential to the fabric of the neighborhood. I observed the firefighters, the pride they had in the job, and the desire they had to serve their community. It wasn't until I met my wife and heard the stories she had told about her dad that I really considered applying for the fire department. My father-in-law was a member of the department for 30 years. He is retired, but listening to him talk about his experience made me want to be a firefighter too. Here we are 20 years later. Becoming a president of this local was not part of my conversation 20 years ago, but decided I wanted to do everything I could for our members and the communities we pledged to protect. This is exactly why our members were doing on that tragic morning, protecting the community they serve, responding to a dwelling fire with a report of multiple people trapped. I believe in us. I believe in our mission, and I'm here to tell you, you matter. I cannot begin to tell you the countless messages we have received. They are messages of support and condolences. They are messages of gratitude. Most of these messages are from the citizens of Baltimore and their broader Maryland communities. We have received messages from people at fire departments all over the country and all over the world. People have commented, "Thank you for your service, devotion, and bravery," in the countless threads on social media, and almost all the heartfelt messages share their thoughts and prayers for our brothers and sisters who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Know that the people we serve see you. The people we serve support you. I also support you. Many of our tenured members have been in the department for many years. Some of you newer have been in the department just a few years. Some of you brand new, like my son, and entering the department during an unprecedented global pandemic. At the beginning of the pandemic, there was a lot of uncertainty, fear, and even panic. Despite all of this, you had a job to do. You showed up to work when we didn't know the true nature of the virus. Some of us stayed away from loved ones and friends, unsure how the virus would spread. Regardless, you showed up to your shift. Many of you worked and continue to work multiple shifts. As our members get sick or hurt, you still show up for work. Look around. We see you. We support you. You matter. As our union evolves, trying to make the necessary changes you need and deserve, we struggle against challenges that have unfortunately become the status quo. Challenges that greatly hinder our ability to protect those who need us. You deserve better. Despite all of this, you continue to show up. You do this because you care about the citizens we serve. You care about each other. You care about the job. You do this because you matter. I know this, the people of Baltimore know this, and together we will fight and ensure our calls for reform do not go unheeded. To our ongoing frustration and discouragement, we now have an inextricable grief. This is the grief we feel of our fallen brother and sister. The tragedy that brought us together here is unimaginable. I feel it, I see it in your faces. We share this grief not only with each other, but with the families of Paul, Kelsey, and Kenny. Like many of you, this has been the hardest 2 weeks of my career. Every day you get up, go to work, you fight fires, you run emergency calls, you care for the sick and wounded, you run in when others are running out. You do your job to serve and protect. You do what you need to do to prevent the loss of life. You still show up. You matter. Last week, all our lives changed in an instant. Through it all, you have shown your humanity, and in that, your resolve. You rallied around each other to pick up the shattered pieces left by this tragedy. Your showing support to the family is extraordinary. In conclusion, your committed and continued service to this department and the citizens of Baltimore is not meaningless. It is valued, supported, and appreciated by all of us. In the days and weeks to come, we will continue to support each other and share the legacies of those lost. To Paul, Kelsey, and Kenny's families, know that you will always have a home with us. We are here to assist you and offer support as long as you need it. I vow to you that their deaths will not be in vain. What they did for us and the citizens of Baltimore will never be forgotten. I would like to leave you with this quote from Josh Weldon. The things about a hero is even when it doesn't look like there's light at the end of the tunnel, they're going to keep digging. They're going to keep trying to do right and make up for what's gone before, just because that's who we are. This is who you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. It's now my honor to welcome the General President of the International Association of Firefighters, Edward A. Kelly, to the podium.
Thank you, Commissioner Nathan. Mayor Scott, thank you for welcoming firefighters from around the world here to Baltimore. Governor Hogan, your steadfast support of firefighters is the absolute gold standard. Thank you for being here in our time of need. And Reverend Burgess, thank you for guiding us spiritually when we need it most. And thank you, Dr. Laurie Merrill Moore, the U.S. Fire Administrator, for being here, the best friend a firefighter could have leading the fire service in America. Kenny, Kelsey, and Paul may have come from a little different walks of life. But on Monday morning, January 24th, they all walked the same walk. A call came in for a building fire in West Baltimore. And while en route, dispatchers notified the companies responding that there were people trapped. Just 20 seconds after being notified of people trapped, Engine 14, with Kelsey in command, arrived on scene. The original fire building had heavy fire throughout. That fire was extending into the exposures next door. With the report of people trapped, any seasoned firefighter would assume those trapped people were in one of those exposures. The role of the first due engine in a fire like that is to put the wet stuff on the red stuff. The best way we can save somebody trapped in a burning building is to put water on the fire, to kill it, to extinguish it, to eliminate that threat. The best way to kill a fire is to get up close and personal with it, to knock it down before it extends further into those exposure buildings where those people were trapped. Suddenly, just a few minutes after they arrived, a catastrophic collapse trapped Engine 14 and Truck 23. A heroic rescue effort ensued. Literally the best of the best put it all on the line to pull their brothers and sisters out, with the very real threat of secondary collapse being imminent. Because of their extreme personal risk, lives were saved. Including that of their brother, from Engine 14, John McMaster. Saved by his fellow firefighters who put it all on the line to dig him out. He was also saved by the talent and skills of the doctors and nurses at Shock Trauma. They are our heroes, and we thank them. Unfortunately, for Lieutenant Paul Butrim, Senior Firefighter Kelsey Saddler, and Firefighter Kenny Lacayo, God had other plans. As firefighters, we all know the risks involved. Yet we are forever shocked when those risks become a reality. We all feel our own mortality. It's a lesson we're taught from the very beginning of our service. Yet we're forced to learn it over and over again. That lesson that Kenny, Paul, and Kelsey taught us as firefighters is that others come first. This is the cornerstone of what we inherited as firefighters. The cornerstone of being a firefighter is sacrifice. We were taught when we took our oath that others come first, period. The lesson they taught us last Monday, like so many who made that sacrifice before them, that lesson will endure. Not only here in Baltimore, the sacrifice made by Kelsey, Kenny, and Paul will transcend language, culture, politics. That lesson will teach the next generation of firefighters all across the world. Later that day, I visited Engine 14, and I met Mr. Lacayo, Kenny's father. And I told him that although I had never met Kenny, he was my brother. And Mr. Lacayo said, that makes me his son. We are a family. Firefighting is a family. And all our families endure our sacrifice. And today we all feel that loss. But our grief pales in comparison to what Kenny's fiancée Clara, Kelsey's husband Brandon, and Paul's wife Rachel and their families will have to endure. I don't believe there's anything I can say that will make their loss make sense. But I want you to know that the sacrifice made by your loved ones, 3 Baltimore City firefighters, I believe epitomizes the solution to what I feel plagues society right now, which is that for some reason, it feels like we're being forced to believe that that which divides us is more important to that which unites us. Some people would tell you Kelsey's a female and Paul's a white male and Kenny's Latino. What they were defined as by others failed to define who they define themselves to be: Baltimore City firefighters. We heard the gospel according to John, and I don't want to argue with John, but he said, greater love has no one than this, that someone laid down his life for his friends. Last Monday, when box 5510 came in, 20 seconds before they arrived, they were told that somebody, some resident of West Baltimore that they had never met, was in danger of dying. And they decided that somebody was worth dying for. Now that's some love. That's the lesson. Love is the lesson they taught us. You know, I started by saying they may have come from different walks of life. But last Monday, they all walked the same walk. And if we, all of us, get out of bed every day and try to walk the way Kelsey, Kenny, and Paul showed us, we'll be doing all right. Thank you for showing us the way. The Baltimore Walk of Love. God bless you.
There are many
The Lord be with you. The Holy Gospel of our Lord, according to John. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends, if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and I appointed you to go and bear fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. I am giving you these commands so that you may love one another. Please join with me as we say together the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
I would now like to call upon Battalion Chief Joshua Fannin, President of Baltimore Fire Officers Association, IAFF Local 964, to speak on behalf of Lieutenant Paul Butrim's family.
Greetings and good morning, my brothers and sisters, distinguished guests. My name is Josh Fannin. I'm a battalion chief with the Baltimore City Fire Department and president of Baltimore Fire Officers Union, IAFF Local 964. Most importantly, I was a friend of Lieutenant Paul Butrim. At the request of his wife, Rachel, I am honored to speak before you today about our dearly departed brother. But first, I would like to thank the families of Lieutenant Paul Butrim, Lieutenant Kelsey Saddler, and Firefighter Paramedic Kenneth Lacayo for allowing us to assemble here today as we stand united through our shared grief at the loss of our friends. Next, I wish to thank the extended families that are our firefighter brothers and sisters. Thank you for traveling to our fine city this morning in support, respect, and shared bereavement. Now, you're not likely to hear another local president admit this in public, but yes, I was in fact a member and volunteer at Joppa Magnolia Volunteer Fire Company when Paul Butrim walked through the door in 2003. We liked him immediately. He threw himself right into learning every aspect of the job and honing his craft. As the years passed by and his experience level increased, he assumed a leadership role for the younger members who came after him. He took them under his wing and taught them every aspect of fire service life, whether we're talking tricks of the trade, conducting effective search and rescues, ventilation techniques, and much more. Paul was appointed to the Baltimore City Fire Department on September 19, 2005. He knew from his volunteer service that he was a truck man and wanted to experience all that the BCFD had to offer in that regard. After completing the Fire Academy, he started his career in West Baltimore at Truck Company Number 10, which some of you may know as the 8x10 on Instagram. Eventually, he found his way to the east side over to Truck Company 15, where we were able to serve together again in the same firehouse. Governor Hogan told you how in 2015, Paul was honored by Firehouse Magazine with a Valor Award after he located a child trapped face down in an apartment fire. He made the grab, removed the victim, and performed CPR until the arrival of advanced life support. He promoted to lieutenant on November 4th, 2016, and was assigned to Engine Company Number 57 in Curtis Bay. I was happy to have my friend back as I was his battalion chief. Paul threw himself into his new responsibilities as an officer. He took the training very seriously. He made sure firefighters assigned to him were always working on learning the fine points of the job and bettering themselves by drilling on every aspect. His dream as a lieutenant was to work on Bush Street at Truck Company number 23 in Pigtown, 3rd Battalion. Last year, that wish came true, and he settled in as the truck boss on D shift. He was a welcome addition to the family. Many of the firefighters and officers of Engine 55 and Truck 23 had known Paul for years and appreciated his leadership style. EVD J. Leone described him as, quote, the best boss I ever had. Paul had a great sense of humor. He had this ability to deliver a joke in a quick, dry way with a straight face and wait until you picked up on it. Once he saw you smiling, he would burst out laughing. He certainly could take a joke. One day, a few of us were standing around the turnout area on the bay floor. Paul had been a member for a few months or so. A guy comes in that hadn't been around for a while and hadn't met Paul yet. So while we're catching up, he's glancing around at the names on the turnout racks in search of new blood. He spots Paul's name while he's talking to us, looks at us, does a double take, then exclaims, "You've got to be kidding me. You guys have a guy named Butrim that works here now?" After our laughter died down, Paul walks in a few minutes later and is greeted with, "What's up, Butrim?" He got a kick out of that. So that was his name for a while, which evolved into Butt Sauce, then finally just Sauce. I still refer to him as Sauce to this day. Now, Paul was a practical joker, too. Now, there's a lot of these stories, but in the interest of time, I'll give you one. There's plenty of firefighters here that know this, but in the interest of explaining to our civilian friends, firefighters prep their gear by putting on their turnout pants, then putting our boots on, then you push the pants down on top of the boots and leave them like that on the floor. That way it's easy to jump in your boots, pull up your pants, and go. So Paul thought that it would be hilarious if he put a pair of women's underwear on the outside of someone's turnout pants. They wouldn't notice them the way our pants are pushed down. So he picks a victim. I'm not going to give you any names, but this may or may not be a BCFD battalion chief, who is not me, and puts the underwear over the pants. All the guys get a good laugh. But we weren't going to actually go out the door like that. But soon enough, the call comes out for a dwelling fire next door. Paul didn't get a chance to warn him. So Jason jumps in his boots, pulls up his pants, and away they go on the engine down the road. So he's on the scene of a house fire in the street of a residential neighborhood as the incident commander, coordinating the overall operation of the scene in full turnout gear, with a woman's thong clearly displayed on the outside of his pants, completely oblivious. Paul comes out after the fire is knocked, rolling on the front yard in tears, laughing. You remember that, Jay? Paul had lots of hobbies and interests. He was a Boston Red Sox fan for some reason, as far back as I can remember. He played on Jopa's softball league for quite a few years. He loved hockey and was a Caps fan. Perhaps his favorite of all was NASCAR. He would constantly text Lieutenant Joey DeRusso all season long with updates on his favorite driver, number 9, Chase Elliott. He was a staple at races in Dover and would go with his brothers, particularly Corey and RJ as well. But his best friend to take was certainly his son, Nolan. Anyone who knew Paul well knew he had OCD. It served him well in the fire service, a place for everything and everything in its place. He was cleaning and organizing constantly. It did lead to disagreements with his wife, Rachel, though. They fought plenty over how much stuff she had to keep in her car at all times. She still maintains that other than that, it mostly rubbed off on her, and she likes a regimented program now, too. Paul turned that OCD to fitness and really embraced a healthy lifestyle. He was a gym rat. When I was his chief, I'd pick up the mail, we'd pass on information, then inevitably we would turn to what our current weight training or nutrition programs were. But more than anything else, Paul loved his family. He was a loving husband to his wife, Rachel. They went on their first date in 2010, and he just knew she was the one. So much so that during one of their frequent journeys to the eastern shore to go crabbing, Paul got down on one knee and proposed in front of the entire family. Paul became a father with the birth of Nolan Reed Butrim in 2016, and there was no greater pride in his life. He was born to be a father, and he and Nolan were inseparable. With our shift schedules, he was able to spend a lot of time with Nolan during the week, and he was happy for that. They went everywhere together, the zoo, you name it. Every week, he would meticulously plan out what day would be their trip to the grocery store. Funny as that may sound, that was special father-son time for them, and they looked forward to it every week. The Butrim family became avid campers, and they hauled that camper and golf cart all over the place. On one trip to Tennessee, the power went out, and they were stranded on a mountain with no power. But that's still a fond memory. Nolan added a tremendous amount of fun to those trips. Once they arrived at the campground, the first order of business would be to plant their flag. Emblazoned with Nolan's Campy, they always made sure to get a group shot in front of that flag. Paul and Rachel loved to see the joy in Nolan's face on those trips. Sadly, Nolan was lost to this world 3 years ago this month. Rachel, to paraphrase Abraham Lincoln, I feel how weak and fruitless must be any words of mine that would attempt to beguile you from the grief of a loss so overwhelming. But I cannot refrain from tendering to you the consolation that may be found in the knowledge that Paul is keeping a watchful eye over all of us with Nolan at his side, together at last. Paul, on behalf of the members of Truck Company 23 and the Baltimore City Fire Department family, we make this solemn promise to you. We will never forget the warmth of your spirit, the wisdom in your guidance, and we will forever strive to embody the qualities of your character that stand as a shining example of what a Baltimore City firefighter can aspire to be. Rest in peace, brother. We love you, and we'll miss you from this moment until we meet again. Thank you very much for your time and indulgence.
Can't believe that you got me in a suit and tie. I had to take a pull so I wouldn't cry. You got a line out the church door saying goodbye. Yeah, I believe them when they say you're in a better place. You had a wild side, but you had amazing grace. I know you're way off up in them clouds, but if you could still hear me right now, I hope you hit those ghost streets on 2 wheels. I hope your mansion in the sky's got a 10-acre field with some mud and some hubs you can lock in. Make some thunder, make them wonder how you got in. How'd you beer, how'd you clear from a man upstairs? Crank it loud, hold it down till I get there. And when I do, I hope you got some new stories to tell. Till then, give heaven some hell. I bet you're looking for a crew like we had. Bunch of noise making boys that like to live fast. Burning rubber in a parking lot, man, I don't know if the other side's ready or not. But I hope you hit those ghost streets on 2 wheels. I hope your mansion in the sky's got a 10-acre field with some mud and some hubs you can lock in. Make some thunder, make them wonder how you got in. How
Again, thanks to Josh for those moving remarks. Thank you. And I'd like to call upon Lacey Marino, Kelsey's sister, who will speak on behalf of Lieutenant Kelsey Saddler's family.
Got my crew here with me in case I can't make it through it. First and foremost, I'd like to say if you knew Kelsey, you know she would hate all of this attention. We all remember how she lost her mind on me when I planned a surprise birthday party for her. And if given the opportunity, she would ghost her own funeral, meaning she'd leave without telling anyone. She'd be home in her pajamas, telling us she didn't have time to say bye, and she was going to bed. She would also have some very strong words for some of the pictures that have been posted without her approval, but that was our girl. Strong words, strong feelings, and very strong hugs. She was the best hugger. A hug so strong you felt like she would bruise you. Kelsey loved life, and she lived it like she meant it, all gas and no brakes. She was always up for any task or challenge. She was confident, she was creative, she was supportive, and she loved with all of her heart. She had this beautiful and fun energy about her that would just fill the room, and she was loyal. Loyalty was tattooed on her wrist, and if you were one of her people, there was nothing she wouldn't do for you. Although we've entered into our 30s, we still live in our Forever 29 club. Age is only a number, and we decided we'd stay 29 forever. She's my little sister, my best friend, the kid, as a lot of you know I called her, but no matter how old we got, I always wanted to take care of her. And with the structure of our shift schedules, my first day in was always when she was coming off her second day. I would always call her, text to check in on her to make sure she was driving home okay and wasn't too tired. She'd tell me she had about 8 runs after midnight and they had a fire. And I work in the county and it's just no comparison. So I'd be like, oh, cool, we had a grown-ass man call 911 with a bellyache from eating cereal. And she was just a boss. She was awesome. We would always joke about taking naps driving home from our shifts. Our spot was the 152 park and ride. And we would laugh and say we need to have a designated note to stick on the window that said, don't Narcan me, I'm just taking a quick power nap. And that girl loved her naps. She was definitely a professional napper. But even with their thousands of conversations about work, she never talked about herself on the job. She was so humble. Instead, she'd talk about her work families. And I probably know more about Daryl and Matt than they want me to, but that's what makes this job great. It's the work families. So always take care of your people, and that's what she did. I've really enjoyed reading the awesome stories friends have been sharing about her on the job. Just to quote some of our favorites, she was a woman of steel with a heart of gold, the rock of Engine 14, fearless, brave, and true, a feisty one, tough as nails with a wit to match. If you think women can't do this job, you haven't met Kelsey, a beautiful badass. Kelsey was a machine and walked the dog on more first-in fires on the pipe in a year than firemen go to in their entire careers. I think that one's my favorite. An indomitable spirit that wouldn't take shit from anyone. The baddest bitch to ever stretch a line. The real deal. These words are evidence of the respect her work family had for her. The West Side will never be the same without her. None of us will be. Family was Kelsey's purpose and her driving force. Her, Brandon, and Mila were a beautiful family. And when we met Brandon, we knew she found her match. Her person, and she deserved someone who honored her as she did them, who respected her, who made her feel safe enough to soften her edges. Brandon was just that. We knew he was the one who was strong enough to hold her strength and beauty. He might not have loved Shayna as much as we did, or she did, but nobody ever could. But her love for Brandon extended and encompassed her beautiful stepdaughter, Mila. She loves Mila just like she would be her own. They share a sassy, independent, strong attitudes. For someone that never desired to have children, she was the best stepmom. You guys are besties for the resties. Kelsey was also the coolest aunt. Lily and Emmett just adored her. She was Aunt Chachi, then Aunt Kashi, until they could finally pronounce Aunt Kels. I asked Lily what was her favorite thing to do with Aunt Kelsey, and she said everything. Because she's right, everything. Board games, puzzles, beach trips, hot chocolate in the morning, see who can eat an entire cupcake in one bite. Our massive Easter egg hunts, bonfires, pajama days, watching all the episodes of Schitt's Creek a million times, because everything with Kelsey was simply the best. It was clear Kelsey's love language was her pictures and her projects. When I had Matt find her phone for me, we knew we needed those pictures off of her phone. There were 4,957 pictures on there, and that was after a recent phone dump. She certainly didn't make it easy on any of us sorting through them all. We had group votes in my kitchen over the last week deciding which ones were acceptable. We hope you took the time to look at them, to feel her love for her family and her life in all of them. So remember to take the pictures, buy the selfie stick, and be obnoxious about it. Because like Buddha said, the problem is you think you have time. And Kelsey knew that, and she had that tattooed on her arm next to a clock. Kelsey's authenticity was admirable. She acknowledged she could be intense and sometimes abrasive. She spoke with a passion and she spoke loud. She didn't have a volume button, and when she tried to dial it down, the laughter, she would just shake. Like the time she peeled all of her gel nail polish off and made a pile of it on my leg while I wasn't paying attention at church and then just sat there laughing with me, or the time she sat a dirty tissue on Dad's leg at our cousin's wedding. Those were the best laughs. They were during the most inappropriate times. Growing up, as any little sister, she always wanted to be with me. Our favorite movie was Home Alone. We always quoted lines from that movie. We'd always say, "Good night, Kevin." It was our thing. And we also quoted lines from the book Goodnight Moon. Not that it was a favorite, just that it was an odd book. But funny how as adults the roles had reversed. I always wanted to be with her. She just made everything better. She's my ride or die. I'm not sure how we move forward from this loss, but I know she'll show us the way, and we have to for her. She's our beautiful badass, our hero, our best friend, our family, my sister. So I'll say to you, kid, good night, stars, good night, air, good night, noises everywhere. We hope you're with Shayna, enjoying front row seats at a Joe Diffie concert. We love you so much, Kelsey. Rest easy, girl. We got it from here.
Hope is an anchor and love is a ship. Time is the ocean and life is a trip. You don't know where you're going till you know where you're at. And if you can't read the stars, well, you better have a map, a compass and a conscience, so you don't get lost at sea or on some old lonely island where no one wants to be. From the beginning of creation, I think our Maker had a plan for us to leave these shores and sail beyond the sand and let the good light guide us through the waves and the wind to the beaches in a world where we have never been. And we'll climb up on the mountain, y'all, we'll let our voices ring. And those who've never tried it, they'll be the first to sing. Oh, my, my. I'll see you on the other side. If I make it, and it might be a long, hard ride, but I'm gonna take it. Sometimes it seems that I don't have a prayer. I let the weather take me anywhere, but I know that I wanna go where the streets are gold, 'cause you'll be there. Oh my, my. You don't bring nothing with you here, and you can't take nothing back. I ain't never seen a hearse with a luggage rack, so I pulled my knees up praying, scarred my back from falling down. I spent so much time flying high till I'm face first in the ground. So if you're up there watching me, would you talk to God and say, tell him I might need a hand to see you both someday. Oh my, my. So I'll see you on the other side. If I make it, and it might be a long, hard ride, but I wanna take it. Sometimes it seems that I don't have a prayer. I let the weather take me anywhere, but I know that I wanna go where the streets are gold, 'cause you'll be there. Oh my, my. 'Cause you'll be there. Oh my, my.
And thank you, Lacey, for sharing your remembrances with all of us. For the family of firefighter paramedic Kenneth Lacayo, I would like to welcome Kenny's sister, Katia Olivas, and his fiancée, Clara Fenelon, to the podium.
Good morning. By now, you have all heard of Kenneth the hero, but what I had at home was just my Kenny. The Kenny who would ask me before he said yes to an overtime shift. The gentle soul who wouldn't let me open any doors. The dog daddy who took the nighttime duties just so I didn't have to. The protector who forced me to drink water when what I really wanted was more tequila. The Kenny who told me he wasn't going anywhere, my Kenny. Our life was full of adventures. One of the latest, showing up to the closing table of our new home just to realize we had forgotten to wire the closing cost money. Yes, that was us. We traveled wide and far and attended many concerts, one of his favorite things to do. I recently told him I could not believe that life had done a full spin and somehow I ended up on top. I was on top of the world with my Kenny. The reality is that no book prepares you to lose the love of your life this soon, and no book ever could. Those flames burn our lives together, our dreams, the family we so desperately wanted. The world isn't right without my Kenny. but I find some solace in knowing that most people spend a lifetime looking for the type of love we had, and many will die without ever knowing it, but not my Kenny. Our therapist once asked what love meant to the two of us. I remember Kenny and I looking at each other and saying, "I will die for you." God knows I meant it. I know he did too. I haven't been back to our home yet, but our wedding guest list still sits on top of my laptop. I know this loss will forever change who I am, but loving and sharing a home with you, my Kenny, has been the biggest honor of my life, and I will not change a thing. Thank you.
It is hard to find the right words for an occasion like this. It is hard to find hope. Death and life are intertwined, two ribbons closely tied together in our everyday lives. And yet, being born is never guaranteed, but dying always is. As sure as the sun does rise and set, we all die one day. And yet, beauty can be found even in the darkness. Why is it that we celebrate a new life, but mourn a death? How do we change the perspective around something that's such a fundamental part of our world? When I first reached the trauma center, they asked me if I wanted to see my brother's body, and I said no. I also declined to see the location of where he died. The thing is, I do not want to remember how my brother died. I am not here to mourn his death. I am here to celebrate his life. And one is only to look at this room to understand exactly how he lived. My brother's physical presence may be gone, but the essence and the memories of who he was and those that passed with him will always live on. He touched not only the hearts of those that knew him, but through this tragedy, he also touched the hearts of strangers near and far. My brother, he had 3 loves in his life: his family, being a firefighter, his fiancée, Clara, who I thank because it was through this love he finally found the one piece he was missing to help him feel complete. He was a middle child, but I don't think he ever got the memo. To the public, Kenneth was heroic and brave, but he was also sweet and gentle and kind and always optimistic, even in the darkest moments. Before this, I thought of a million stories to tell you guys about him so you could understand exactly who he was. I hope I chose the right one. Kenny loved concerts, so one summer we attended one in North Carolina in the South with my brother and his wife. He wanted to sneak some food in, but out of all the items he decided to sneak in, he decided to bring crepes. He had to hide them really well so they wouldn't get confiscated. So here's Kenny at the concert digging out these smushed chocolate-covered, whipped cream-covered crepes out of his boxer in the middle of the South. He's got the biggest smile on his face. He's pulling one out, he's taking a bite, he pulls the other one out, and he looks at us and he says, "Do you guys want some?" That smile, I will never forget that smile. It followed him everywhere he went. I know if somehow I could bring him back, he wouldn't change a thing about his life. And it gives me great comfort to know he lived on his own terms so fully in such a short amount of time. We all die one day, but at least he died doing what he loved, and that's a privilege most of us will never get. So we ask, what purpose do we find in a tragedy like this? The passing of not 1 but 3 young lives cut short? It's simple. We find the reminder that life with its pain and obstacles is a gift, that without death we would not have the capacity to understand the value of life, to let go of the trivial things, to be present, to love unapologetically, to pursue our passions with vigor, and to pursue our joys with even more enthusiasm still. We are born and we die, but in the process we all forget to live. I promise to live how Kenny lived, with great intensity, with kindness, and fearlessly. Thank you.
Again, thank you, Katya and Clara, for sharing your thoughts with all of us. The IAFF Honor Guard Command Staff will now present the United States flags to the families of Lieutenant Paul Butrim, Lieutenant Kelsey Saddler, and Firefighter Paramedic Kenneth Lacayo. These flags, requested by Senator Chris Van Hollen and Congressman Kwame Mfume, were flown over the United States Capitol on January 24th and 25th, 2022, in recognition of our fallen for their dedication, honor, and sacrifice to their community. We'd also like to thank Senator Ben Cardin for the reading of the names, Lieutenant Paul Butrim, Lieutenant Kelsey Saddler, and Firefighter Paramedic Kenneth Lacayo into the congressional record today, February 2nd, 2022, at the United States Capitol. This will recognize their heroic actions in perpetuity. The International Association of Firefighters Martin E. Pierce Commemorative Line of Duty Death Medal is awarded to the families of IAFF union members who have died in the line of duty. The memorial medal features the IAFF logo flanked by oak leaf clusters and bears the words dedication, honor, sacrifice. The reverse side of the medal bears the name of the fallen firefighter and the medal number. This Medal of Honor is dedicated in tribute to Martin E. Pierce, a former IAFF Secretary-Treasurer who for many years assisted fire department and families with claims for the Public Safety Officer Death Benefit. In honor of firefighters who die in the line of duty, the IAFF presents the Martin E. Pierce Commemorative Line of Duty Death Medal to the family of the deceased. IAFF General President Edward A. Kelly, IAFF General Secretary Treasurer Frank V. Lima, IAFF 4th District Vice President Andrew Pantelis, IAFF Local 964 President Joshua Fannin, and Local 734 President Richard Langford will now present to Rachel Butrim, wife of Lieutenant Paul Butrim, the IAFF Martin E. Pierce Commemorative Line of Duty Death Medal. We now present to Kelsey Saddler, stepdaughter of Lieutenant Kelsey Saddler, the IAFF Martin E. Pierce Commemorative Line of Duty Death Medal. We now present to the siblings of firefighter paramedic Kenneth Lacayo, the IAFF Martin E. Pierce Commemorative Line of Duty Death Medal. Paul, Kelsey, and Kenny will be memorialized when their names are engraved amongst our other fallen firefighters at the IAFF Fallen Firefighter Memorial in Colorado Springs. They will not be forgotten.
Everyone, please rise. The sounding of a bell is a tradition of the fire service. In the past, as firefighters began their tour of duty, it was the bell that signaled the beginning of that day's shift. Throughout the day and night, each alarm was sounded by a bell, which summoned these brave men and women to fight fires and to place their lives on the line for the good of their fellow citizens. When the fire was out and the alarm had come to an end, it was the bell that signaled the completion of that call. When a firefighter died in the line of duty, it was the toll of the bell that solemnly announced a comrade's passing. And so, for Lieutenant Butrim, Lieutenant Sadler, and Firefighter Paramedic Lacayo, who have selflessly given their lives for the good of their fellow man, their tasks completed, their duties well done, we will once again sound their last alarm. They have gone home. All uniformed personnel, attention! Present! Out! Order on.
Into thy hands, O most merciful Savior, we commend the souls of thy servants now departed from the body. Receive them into the arms of mercy, into the blessed rest of everlasting peace, and into the glorious company of saints in light. Rest eternal grant unto them, O Lord. Let light perpetual shine upon them. May they rest in peace. And for you here gathered, we ask you to remember, we are family. Sometimes we're dysfunctional. Sometimes we are loving. Sometimes we are angry. But there was a prayer written for firefighters back in the 50s. We beseech the Almighty God to pour the blessings upon the first responders of our land and upon those in our military, those who have fought the pandemic. We ask you to strengthen and preserve them in every danger, that they who protect our lives and property while they faithfully perform their duties may so serve thee here that they fail not finally to obtain thy heavenly promises. All this we ask through a loving God, through a Lord who has compassion. For you who are here gathered, for friends and family, and for all who have traveled, we offer you our condolences, our sympathies, and our prayers. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be upon you this day, remain with you now and forevermore. Go in peace to serve and love the Lord. Please be seated.
Together far across the sea, let us pledge allegiance
forward
to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we lift our voices in this solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Oh, God bless America,
Families, would you please rise? And you'll be escorted to the stairs. This release is just for families. Gentlemen. Okay, Griff. Non-family civilians, please rise. And exit out the doors to the rear where you came in. DVPs, dignitaries, please wait. My DVPs and dignitaries, if you just follow the Lacayo family as they file out. Visiting uniforms, if you'd please rise and face to your left. Make your way out to the back corner to your left and exit out onto Charles Street, please. Baltimore City Fire personnel, you may also please use the green exit doors to the stairways up. We'll adjust the flow when you get over there. The green exits at the front, stage right. for Baltimore City Fire also.